Welcome, welcome, welcome. What up, Cat? Um, I just watched I'm in the midst of watching a very inspiring video. Listening to a lecture. It's not really a video. Um, it throws around the idea that AI, yeah, what we're dealing with AI is this sort of, it's like a machine or I would almost call it genitalia. AI is like genitalia for our cultures, societies, our religions, and their prophecies. If that makes sense, I can try to keep going and elaborate. Um, and what I mean by that, I think, or what I think is going to be the expression from that is, and the way AI, as I know it to be and interact with, is this intelligence that can learn habits and can process information at circuitry speed, light speed. um, it's this world of AI and electronics that exists completely simultaneously from this waking life. So literally imagine our world as we know it with time and feeling the present moment night and day. um, the moods and emotions you go through that kind of transcend or kind of make your time in life dense. Now imagine all this coexisting with a world that is existing, that can be summoned and you can access almost anything. Since it has a form, since we have a form, there are, um, I wouldn't say limits, but there's a perimeter around it, just as us. We have a planet, we have gravity, that space, and as well, and we even need oxygen. But AI and electronics, they don't need oxygen. They don't need air to breathe, but we need air to breathe to make these things. Um, so in a way, it's a literal new realm that we've kind of just created. I've heard people say that it's a kind of like a downloading of our network, like our nervous system, our human network, our brains. Um, but I think what it does is it sort of, or what it's doing is it's this sort of fuel for our abstract forms of faith and belief. Because if you come at it with nothing, no faith, no beliefs, you're most likely going to get that. Um, you say you want to, bring your faith into it. You're a Christian or a Muslim, so you bring that to it, and now it only shows you that. Um, so it's a sort of a world that just mirrors you in a way, not in a good way either. Not in like, if you're, how do I say not in a good way? It's not necessarily in a good or bad way, but in the way that it's currently being perceived, I would say it's inherently bad for our culture or our current culture. But I also would agree that cultures die, societies die, and we could just be witnessing the birth of a new one. And that is rather fascinating to me. I don't want to spend too long on this topic because I want to like present ideas and try to just convey them when I feel them. And this is the idea that I've sort of just felt immediately inspired by. Um, but how can you grasp something that is individual to each user. I think you either create a perimeter around the users, the individual users, that can gate them, can keep them in a gate, keep them in a fence, or you have to create the individual user to believe one thing, to look through one lens. I think that's what we're currently experiencing. My novel I'm writing, my dystopian novel, I wouldn't even say it's dystopian. It's just kind of like, I mean, it's obviously going to be looked at as dystopian, and that was the perspective I was going in with. Sorry if it's lagging. Oh well. But I imagine cities being formed where that is the perimeter you have to operate in. But these cities I'm talking about are becoming much more abstract in thought. Cultures, societal notions are becoming much more abstract in thought instead of form. And we as artists, creatives, people with new ideas, we have to utilize that. We really do.